Denae, and I am excited to be doing my first video on this channel. I have been trying to do this all year, and I said I'm not ending the year without starting, so I'm really excited. Since this is my first video, I'm going to start off by just giving a little bit about myself and what to expect on this channel. So I do have a TikTok where I share a lot more about myself. I'm 42, I am engaged, and I have a 19-month-old son. And I love sharing on my TikTok my journey because I know that my story is one that so many women never think they're gonna have. I thought the same thing. I would never have thought in a million years that I would be on the side of being able to say that love actually did happen. I am getting married and I have a child. I'm a mom. Never in a million years thought that was going to be my journey, although I held on to the hope, like so many women, that it would happen. So my entire 30s, that was my dream. That was what I wanted. And I know how it feels to feel like something so simple, which is just finding love and having a child, is never going to happen, and how hard it can feel, especially dating. I have so many crazy dating experiences, which is why I'm going to start this channel, because there's just so many different layers to my life. But I just wanted to have a place to be able to share things that I've even talked to with friends, because we have so many amazing conversations. So I'm going to be including them, my fiance, and because I have just a lot of interest from books, music, pop culture, getting myself back to being me after being a mom life, all of the things. I'm going to be sharing that on this channel as well. But the main thing that I really want to talk about are things that I feel like are centered to women 40 and up, because our journey and experience is just something that I don't think you hear enough about. I'm always telling people that I feel like even in movies and TV, you don't see a lot of people in their 40s. And if you do, a lot of times they seem to have it all figured out. Everything's checked off the list. And that's not the reality for a lot of people. I am one of those people. So I just want to share from a different perspective and be honest and transparent, and hopefully reach even one person that feels like, you know what, I understand and I can see that she obviously knows what it's like and life has changed for her, so maybe it'll happen for me too. So welcome to my channel. I'm really excited. I plan to do videos every week, and if you like, subscribe, comment. I definitely look forward to meeting. um, Make sure that you are subscribing, so then that way you do know when I have a new video posted. I plan to just do live videos and I'll always save them. So I'm looking forward to continuing to do more videos. So the reason that I wanted to get this one out, outside of the fact that I've been trying to all year and I didn't want to go into next year without having a video, is because December is a month that I always look back to and just have a lot of gratitude. December of 2018 was one of the hardest months of my life in a mental state, I would say. I was at one of the lowest places I've ever been in life. And it, I think, was a place of feeling like you burned out of being positive. Like I was just in, for years, a place of just trying to find the positive in everything. Then I burned out by December 2018. I had nothing left to give. I had no positive left to give. I was exhausted with just life, just thinking about life. It was a lot. So, to back up, I spent my entire 30s single. I was in a relationship my whole 20s, and we broke up at the end of my 20s, and I thought I was going to be single for a few years. I was going to get out of my system being single, and I was going to meet my husband, I was going to start a family. It didn't happen like that at all. And so my first few years of my 30s was a very different mindset of just having fun, enjoying life, not really like thinking too much about marriage or kids, because I knew that was going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen in a few years. So by the time I got to about 33, 34 years old and I'm still single, not really too nervous, but I feel like it's going to happen anytime, because that's where my mind was. It's got to happen around this time frame because that's what I wanted. Didn't happen like that. And so by the time I got to December 2018, I ran out of steam because I had put so much pressure on myself. I had focused on something that I had no control over for so long that when I sat down and thought about the fact that year after year, this thing that I wanted to happen hadn't happened, I just got into a really dark space, because you see it happening for other people. You see things that people wanted happening for them. And it may not have even have been having a child and getting married. It could have been maybe in their personal life, career, or purchasing a home, or just whatever the case may be. And I felt stagnant. I felt like, yes, I had great things happening in certain areas, but at the same time, it just felt like God forgot about me or hadn't heard me. And I just didn't understand why it felt like I was stuck. And it wasn't to say I wasn't doing the work. I was. I was doing so much work on myself. I was trying to grow and develop, but it still felt like everybody else was having all the things that they wanted in their life happening, and I was just stagnant. And so I just got to a place in December 2018 where I was angry, and I felt like, why is God not doing this for me? Why does it seem like, for whatever reason, He's avoiding me? And it left me not being able to even celebrate anything. And it wasn't personal towards any individuals. It was just more, I just honestly, I just didn't have anything to give. So that's just kind of just a highlight of where I was at that time. And I'm going to go a little bit further into that because it's not doing it justice by just summarizing it in that way, but just to give you a little bit of an understanding of where I was December of 2018. So I have a video on my TikTok page where I'm pregnant with my son, and I'm sharing how you have so much pressure in your 30s to cross off the list all the things that you think you're going to have accomplished, getting married, having a child. And as a woman, you know that it's harder to have a child as you get older. And so there's pressure, which I even had from my gynecologist asking as far as if I had thought about maybe freezing eggs. And so I started to feel that pressure and started to wonder, is this ever going to happen? And in the TikTok video, I'm talking and you only see my face, and then I go down and you see my stomach and you see that I am pregnant. And at the time, I was 40 and I was engaged, I was pregnant. That video ended up going viral. And I have so many amazing comments that I still get under it about women that understand and that felt the same way. And that particular video led to my fiance and I getting featured on a podcast through Sony Music with Tay Diggs called You Had Me at Hello, where we share our journey of being in our 30s and dating and all these crazy dating experiences and how we didn't think we would ever meet our person. And I love our love story. I think that it's so inspiring because of the fact that we didn't think it was going to happen. And I think that so many people, you just get to a place where you feel like maybe this just isn't going to happen. And it did. So I'm now 42. I'm engaged. I have a 19-month-old son. And I never thought that I would be in this place, especially December 2018. At that time, I had a lot of people in my life that were celebrating things, whether it be job promotion, graduations, engagements, getting pregnant, back to back to back to back to back. I mean, it was every time I turned around, someone was celebrating something. And as happy as I was for them, it was like a constant reminder every time of the fact that I couldn't remember the last time I celebrated anything. And so, again, it wasn't anything personal towards them. It was more, I had beef with God, just to be real with you. I started looking at God like, what is going on? Why are you not responding to me and the things that I'm asking you for? I'm coming to you. I'm not coming to anybody else. I'm coming to you. And for whatever reason, you're not hearing me. And so, unfortunately, I was not my normal self of being able to be happy for people. And that was hard too, because anyone that knows me knows that's not me. But I just wasn't in a place where I could extend anything. And so, to give you an example of that, my best friend got engaged. And it was very reflective if you watch Girlfriends of Joan and Tony, where Joan wasn't able to be happy for Tony in that space. I'm not gonna say I was 100% Joan because Joan was very extra, but as far as you can clearly visibly see that I was just not my normal self. And that was a really hard experience because my best friend and I are so close. I never thought that I would be that way, especially for her of all people. But that was my reality. That was my truth. That's where I was at that time. And so I actually stepped away from all of my friends. I let my family know I just need to be alone because I was in such a bad mental space. I happened to have almost that whole month off of work. And so I just isolated myself. And I just sat in my feelings and my hurt and just how I was feeling at the time. I have a video of myself where I was so depressed that I was crying. Like all I can do is just cry. And I just wanted to just go to sleep and I just couldn't even think about waking up because I just was tired of life. Life just felt heavy. And again, I'm going to do a lot of videos because there's so much more to this. It's not just about me waiting to find my husband or my child. It was just in general, everything that comes with life, especially when you're doing it on your own, taking care of yourself and making financial decisions and your future, and all of those pressures were on me for years. And I felt like so stagnant and tired and just looking for some positivity in it that I just wasn't seeing. Yes, again, like there was little things that I can say. I was traveling, I was having fun with my friends, but I felt like the big things were just not happening and I was tired. And so I did this video because I just was so exhausted. I just didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to think anymore. And I wanted, if God forbid I didn't wake up, my family to know I was okay. I was at peace. And so I still have that video. I keep it as a reminder of how far I've come and how deep you can go when you're tired. I did wake up and I felt like, okay, I'm not taking myself out. God's not taking me out. So I have to learn how to live in this space. And I spent weeks off of work, isolated in my studio apartment at the time. I lived in a small studio apartment. I don't even know if I really even left out. I didn't watch TV. I wasn't on social media. I didn't really talk to my friends, didn't really talk to my family. I just spent that time listening to worship music and reading the Bible. I found devotionals, I found sermons, I cried, I journaled, and I just got one with myself and God. Even though I was mad at Him, even though I was hurt, I still brought all of that to Him. And He allowed me to have that space and that one on one time with Him. And the shame that came with that, and feeling like, God, I'm sorry that I'm even allowing something like the things that I want in life to bring me to this space. I was sorry for how it made me not be able to be happy for other people. I brought all of that to Him with no judgment. I never felt judgment in that space. I never felt like He was condemning me. I felt like, if anything, it was such a vulnerable space to be able to share and be honest and open and just wanting to be free of it all. I didn't know what was going to come out of that time. I just knew that I needed to let it all out and let it go. And so New Year's Eve came around and I felt a little bit better, where I ended up going out with one of my girlfriends, and I was in just a place of contentment where I felt like I don't know what to expect for this next year. Every year you have all of these inspiring sermons and you see the quotes and it's going to be your year and all of that, and that year I just felt like I can't do that to myself. I can't even go there. I just want to get through the year feeling like I'm happy with where I'm at. And if nothing comes out of the year other than that, then it was a successful year for me. And I think that having that mindset gave me hope and peace to feel like I was looking forward to the new year and not have expectations. I had no expectations. And not having expectations took away anxiety. The biggest thing that I think I took away from that was also not giving up on the things that I wanted, just saying, I'm just going to give it to you, God. I'm going to trust in your timing, and I'm just going to believe that it will happen in my lifetime. I don't know when, but it will happen. And I started thinking about people that I saw throughout my life that maybe found love later in life, 50, 60 years old. And I had to be honest and say, you know what, God, if that's when you plan to do that for me, then so be it. I can't imagine not having a child, but maybe I'm meant to be a stepmom. Maybe that will fulfill me in a way that having my own child, it will be the same type of fulfillment. And so I just had to just readjust my belief and think, God, however you want to do this, I believe it's going to happen. I knew I wanted to carry a child. I knew I wanted to have my own child, but I had to trust no matter what that God knew all of those things. And if it didn't happen in the way that I wanted it to, then He knew why. I'm someone that I believe in God's ways are higher than my ways. And so I knew if maybe He knew I wasn't going to be able to conceive, maybe the heartbreak of not being able to conceive would be greater than anything else for me. So I just had to trust, however it happens, it will happen in my lifetime. And letting go of that pressure made everything so much easier, because I think the unknown in my 30s is what led me to wanting it to happen every year, because I needed to see it in order to believe it. And I had to adjust my mindset to stop needing to see it to believe it, and just believe it because you know God heard you. I had no way of knowing that, but I knew He did. And I had to look back at other things in my life that prove that. He's kept me in so many different ways, and so many different stories that I can share that prove that he does hear. For whatever reason, that one he wasn't doing, but I just had to go back and think to other things he's done in my life to just believe he is hearing me. And so I think that, like I said, those few weeks may not be ideal for people if you don't have time off from work where you can just isolate yourself, but God will make a way if you are serious about getting into a good space. I know it wasn't by accident that I just happened to have all that time off from work. He knew that I needed that time to be able to be in peace and quiet and just talk with him. And so, whatever that might look like with you, he will make a way for you to have that time because God knows I needed it. So, I went into 2019, which is such a different mind space, and I spent the whole year just really content. For the first time, I think I wasn't focused on trying to be my best self to prepare for this future that I had no idea when it was going to happen. I was just living day to day, and I found myself really enjoying life in a way that I hadn't before, because there was always in the back of your mind that thought of maybe it'll happen next week, maybe it'll happen next month. I mean, I did actually talk to even my gynecologist, who was extremely, well, my past gynecologist. She's extremely successful, and we talked about, me feeling that way. This is back when I was 34. She even went through that. And it was shocking to me that at the time she was my age now, that this woman that had so much success also felt that way. So for the first, and she told me actually at that time that you just have to get to a place where you're not thinking about it. And I had no idea how to get there, but I finally did in 2019, where I just wasn't thinking about it. I spent that year just enjoying my friends. I was going on dates and spending time by myself, spending time with my family, which that was important because my mom was not doing well. She was having a lot of health issues. I traveled. I went on a few international trips. One of them, I actually went to Italy and I fell in love with Florence. I found this restaurant that just took my heart. And I did a video right outside of the restaurant, and I said, one day I'm going to return and I'm going to come back to this restaurant. I'm going to come back to Florence and I'm going to be with my husband. And I want to get married somewhere just like this. And whether I get married in Italy or somewhere just like this, I will come back one day with my husband. And I couldn't believe that I said that, but I didn't feel like I was putting pressure on it, that this just needs to happen by next year or any time frame. I just felt like one day this will happen. And I noticed how I was talking differently, where it was, again, that mindset of one day. And I was okay with that. I had peace with that. So December 19, very different mindset. I was much more at peace, much more just content, comfortable with where life was, happy with the fact that I couldn't control things, but I knew who was in control, and that one day everything that I was praying for would happen. Was that easy to have that mindset? No. Did I falter and sometimes fail to believe it? Yes. Did I even make mistakes and fall into bad habits briefly? Yes, I did. That's a whole other video for another time. But for the most part, I consistently stayed believing that it would happen one day. So 2020 came around. Don't have to fill you in with how 2020 was for everybody, but 2020 was the year that I'm still in that mindset of I'm just going to be positive. I'm not going to have any expectations. Very content. Life changed for everybody in 2020 where we're quarantining. And 2 weeks into quarantining, I met my fiance. After spending a year finally getting to a place of being content, I met my fiance quarantining. My life changed and was a complete whirlwind all of 2020. I had difficult things happen. My mom passed away. That was life changing, obviously. But I had so many other things that I never thought were going to happen, that I thought God forgot about and didn't hear happen, back to back to back. And it has been a continued whirlwind since, to the point where it has taken me an entire year. I said I wanted to start doing this back in January of this year. It is now December. I have been so busy that life has not even allowed a chance for me to sit down and do this in the way that I wanted to. So I wanted to start this video just with sharing that journey and that experience, because of the fact that I'm a living testimony to how much your life can change. I went from December of 2018 feeling like, God, I'm tired. I don't know if I can continue believing that the things that I want are going to happen, to spending an entire year just resting in the fact that I have so much to be grateful for and that God has heard me. I know He has. it will happen one day, and just fighting to continue to believe that, to 2020, my life totally changing and continuing to. Again, I lost my mom. That was one of the hardest things that I've gone through. But I had, after that, a whirlwind of things happening. And I'll do more videos on all of these things because the timing and all of that is just a testimony in itself. But I met my fiance 2 months before my mom passed away. Unfortunately, she never got to meet him, and I didn't have a conversation with her about the fact that I met him. But I met my fiance, and we ended up getting engaged. Found out we were expecting our son. We purchased a home all in 2021, actually. So 2021, got engaged, found out that we were pregnant, and purchased a home. So I went from 2019, just a state of contentment, to all of a sudden engaged, pregnant, and a homeowner. Out of my studio apartment into a home, and life just kept happening. I found my father, who I never thought I would ever find, because I spent my entire life thinking that he was not alive, which is a whole other testimony and story about my mom being protective of me, her daughter, and just not giving me any trauma that could have come with knowing that my father was actually alive. Um, Although I went without knowing he was alive, I found him. That was a whole testimony and just unbelievable story. He unfortunately passed away 2 months after I found him, but I found out I have all these siblings I didn't know about, and had my son, who is amazing. He's 19 months old. I'm now planning a wedding. I mean, the list goes on of things that I'm probably forgetting that have happened that have just been unbelievable. But all of those things were on my prayer list. All I wanted was to just find a picture of my father. I didn't think that he was alive. I'd never seen a picture of him. Never thought that I would find my actual father. 2 months before he passed away at that, and have answers and conversations and healing and a relationship with him in a very short time frame. The amount of things that God did proved to me that that whole time he had heard me. The man my fiance is, a relationship that we have, it is straight off of my prayer list, to the point where only God knew those things that I was asking for. So he brought my fiance into my life and did it in a way where he knew, he had heard, just like I thought he did. My son, I mean, the things that have just happened are mind blowing. And the fact that I can even share this, I know that people might see this and go, that's great for her, but I wish I had done these videos when I was single, so that you can understand how insane it is that I am on this side, because I don't think that deep down anybody really expected it, because I was always very vocal. I've always been a very transparent person. So a lot of people in my life knew the things that I wanted, and as time goes on, you start to kind of wonder, does Lori need to maybe, let go of this a little bit, cuz it hasn't happened yet, and I just don't want to see her hurt. And so when it finally did happen, all my like friends, family, people I didn't even know were reaching out to me and just like in disbelief. So I love sharing. I think that God didn't do this for me to keep to myself. Thinking back to who I was December 2018, if no one sees this video but one person and they were in that space, I hope that this just reaches you, and I can just be a light that God hears you. That's, all that I can say is that he hears you. And I know the amount of prayers that I sent to him, that I just felt like, what is it about me that you're not answering? But he needed to work things out behind the scenes. And there's things in your life that only God knows the timing and why it hasn't happened yet, but just continue to pray. Just continue to stay true to what it is that you want. Keep a list and don't compromise. I absolutely did. I am not perfect by any means. Even 2019, as content as I was, I still tried that, taking it into my own hands, which was a disaster. But God is so forgiving, and he offers grace. And I think that that's an important part of my story too, that you don't have to be perfect. God is not a God that he knows we're going to make mistakes. And my mistakes didn't hold him back from giving me those things that he promised me he would. I got back on track, and it happened just like he said. So I just, I'm really excited to share. There's so many things that I'll have to sit down and write out to be able to just share everything, because we did, like I said, a podcast with Tay Diggs, and that was more so focused on our crazy dating experiences and our journey of meeting each other and thinking we never were. But there's so many different things that happened in between that time that we just did not have an opportunity to share, that I'm really happy to be able to do here, because it is a story, and one that I, like I said, hope that inspires. So I'm always going to end off with a Bible verse, because that is what got me through reading the Word of God and standing on it. I know that everybody has different things for them that might work. For me, it's prayer and reading the Bible and studying the Bible and just trying to find God in my circumstances. So there's a particular verse that I've seen a lot of people share that my pastor actually introduced me to a few years ago. I believe one year was actually the verse for my church that we all stood on. This particular verse is so powerful, and it is one that I want to share because I think it's a really amazing one to go into the year with. I'm a journaler, so I have journals where I can say I have written things down and I can look at it and see this happened. God isn't going to do everything the way that you might have wanted for certain reasons. And I can see certain things didn't happen because they were too small. Or some of them, it just wasn't meant to happen the way that I said. But God did it in ways that were amazing that I probably wouldn't even have thought of. So, my verse, I don't know how to pronounce it. Habakkuk? Habakkuk? I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Habakkuk. I think that might be how you pronounce it. That's the chapter, and the verse is, or I'm sorry, it's Habakkuk 2 through 2. So chapter 2, verses 2 through 2, or 2 through 3, sorry. And I'm going to read it from the Message Bible. There's different versions of the Bible. The Message Bible, my pastor always calls the thug version because it hits very differently than all the other versions. I like this one because it's just, I'm just going to read it and you'll see why. So this is from the Message version. And then God answered, write this, write what you see. Write it out in big block letters so that it can be read on the run. This vision message is a witness pointing to what's coming. It aches for the coming. It can hardly wait. And it doesn't lie. If it seems slow in coming, wait. It's on its way. It will come right on time. So write that verse down. Do it exactly as it says. Write it in big block letters. Write it in permanent pen. Do not write it with a pencil. Do not erase it. And be courageous, be confident, be bold in what it is that you're writing down, and then let it go and leave it to God and let him work it out. Don't look for it, because that can create anxiety like it did in me, that makes you want to step into God's way and try to help him out. He doesn't need any help. So just continue to keep it in your mind so that you don't steer from it. That's something that I struggle with. I had these things that I wanted, but I was trying to help God out by doing it myself. And sometimes you compromise, or you settle, or you adjust. That's a journey that you have to make sure you don't do, because if you wait and you allow God to do what you want him to do, he's not going to compromise. He's not going to skimp. He's going to give you more than what you are even asking for. That's Ephesians 3:20. That's another verse to stand on, that he will do more than you can ever imagine. That's what I ended up getting. If I had have done it my way, it wouldn't have turned out the way that it did, which is more than I ever could imagine. So again, I'm really excited to continue to do these videos. I'm hoping that this reaches even one person. If you want to continue to find my videos, please subscribe. I'm hoping to do videos once a week. Like, share, comment below. You can find me on TikTok under Lori_Denae. And yeah, write it down and share what you wrote down and come back when it happens. All right.